So over the past couple of weeks, we have seen plenty of Counter-Strike 2 updates, and since we haven't talked about any of the patches so far since I've been quite busy, we're going to be changing that today. We will be talking about the updates from the 13th, 14th, and 15th of September, so I would just say let's start today's video. Starting off with the patch notes from the 13th of September, various bug fixes and tweaks for all shipped maps, so this was kind of difficult to figure out, but I really tried my best to find all of the changes Valve has made. Starting off with the changes to Ancient. Ancient has received some adjustments to its lighting, so as you can see in these screenshots here, Ancient's lighting was slightly toned down and it's now less bright than it was previously. We can also see in the middle of the map that Valve has recently made some adjustments to certain textures as well, which I think is pretty good, so pretty nice to see. Ancient's lights and Temple are also now breakable, which previously wasn't possible. This is just some slight change, but I really wanted to point this one out, but they forgot about the ones in Donut, so these are still not breakable, which I still find kind of confusing, so Valve, please fix. I would also like to point out this weird clipping issue on the crate right here on A side. Not entirely sure why this happens, but there's some clipping issues for sure, so Valve, please fix. The corner here on Anubis has finally been fixed. Previously you could look straight through that one, but Valve has finally fixed it now, which I'm pretty happy about, but they somehow forgot about the stairs, which I think is the more obvious issue here, but this one isn't really too important, but just something I wanted to point out. Inferno's Easter egg is now being correctly displayed, so previously there was literally just an error screen here, but now they finally fixed it and it correctly displays the Counter-Strike Source main menu. And Inferno's Fountain has also received its bug fix, because previously this is how it looked like when you were shooting in these specific corners, and this is how it looks like now, so Valve has finally fixed this tiny issue on Inferno. Pretty nice to see. It also seems like that Overpass has maybe received some adjustments to these clipping brushes and Monster. I feel like they're kind of different than they were previously, so if you notice any differences here, feel free to leave a comment down below. Moving on to gameplay specific changes, Valve has made various fixes for Molotov and incendiary grenades, as well as for smoke grenades. They've also now fixed the damage indicators for fire damage, which you can see in the background, so this is how it looks like now. It is much more apparent that you're actually receiving fire damage or burn damage. Previously it wasn't too apparent, so I'm glad they changed this. They've also adjusted the first-person sniper contrails to reflect shot accuracy, so if you fully scoped in you can see the full sniper contrail, and if you don't fully aim in you can see that the contrail doesn't fully display and it looks a bit different there, so I think this is a pretty cool quality of life improvement. Valve has also made various adjustments to lag compensation, and they've replaced player elevation indicators on the radar with look directions instead, which you can see as well now on screen. There have been a plethora of improvements for sounds, audio mix changes and tweaks. They've lowered the occlusion and distant effects for gunfire, footsteps and reloads, slight increase to stereo spread, and they've also fixed a bunch of issues as well, which I think is pretty nice to see. For miscellaneous changes, they've changed the armor number and buy menu, so instead of seeing the amount you currently have, you now see the amount that you can buy, which I think is a pretty good change. Valve has also made with this update various fixes for weapon finishes, gloves and stickers, and this is one example to showcase my M4A4 radiation hazard, and they've also changed a bunch of the Doppler knives, which you can see here. I'm very happy with how my current Doppler knife looks like on the Shadow Daggers, so yeah, I think this one can stay, very nice. Valve has also made some improvements for water rendering performance, but I've personally still experienced performance issues with the water, so there's definitely still room for improvement here. They've added name tag positions for all knife models, which you can see in the background, and adjusting the individual player voice volumes is now much better than it was before. Instead of having values from 0 to 1, so you basically just had 10 steps to adjust this, you now have values from 0 to 100, which I think is much better. Good job, Valve. They also allow you now to disable animated avatars, and they've made some various adjustments to the HUD. Last but not least, they've also removed several legacy networking convers that existed in CSGO but never had an effect in CS2. This is kind of related to a previous update where they adjusted the interpolation parameters, and they have now removed those basically. For the 14th of September, Valve has made various adjustments to Anubis, various clipping adjustments. I personally wasn't able to find these, so if you notice any differences, feel free to leave a comment down below. They've also rebalanced lag compensation to favor lower latency players. I really hope this may have fixed the issue where players basically hit you behind walls. Not entirely sure if this is the case, but would be very nice to hear your personal experience after this update, so feel free to leave a comment down below. Last but not least, for gameplay, they fixed the bug where drop grenades were invisible, and they also fixed the bug where drop bombs and weapons would appear in the wrong location, which was definitely an issue, and I also hope they fixed the issue where the bomb was just displayed incorrectly on the minimap. They've said they fixed it, but it still happened to me a few days ago, so hopefully this has been resolved as well now. And with this update they also made once again various bug fixes and tweaks to weapon finishes. So remember how my M4A4 radiation hazard looked previously, like this? This is how it looks like now after this update, which I think is pretty nice, so they kind of fixed that, I guess. And moving on to the release notes for the 15th of September, we have received some adjustments for Office. They adjusted the weight of the vending machine, so now it's a bit more difficult to move these with weapons and grenades, but you can still move them around with your character, which is the most effective way in my opinion, so definitely quite interesting. With the various fixes, I'm really curious if they finally fix the bot issue where you can basically clip out of the map, but from my testing, I think this is still possible and this is still an issue, especially now with casual also being back. I really hope they will fix this very soon. And Ancient has received various clipping adjustments, so I think they fixed this tunnel right here near T-spawn, because now the clipping isn't as bad as it was before, but you still occasionally hit one of the clipping brushes and get kinda stuck, so I hope they will further improve this. We have also once again received some sound improvements, so tuned the vertical audio occlusion of grenade sounds in Nuke and Vertigo, and they've adjusted ambient sounds in Office, so you can now hear the elevator music as far as I'm aware, which I think is pretty nice, and they've also adjusted the silence weapon fall-off. Last but not least, for the miscellaneous changes, Valve has fixed the case where an AK-47 headshot would not deal lethal damage, and they've also adjusted the name tag location for shadow daggers, which you can see on screen right now, so yeah, this is how it looks like now. Anyway, so this is going to conclude today's update video. I'm going to be making update videos more frequently again. Kind of an apology for the lack of update videos recently. I'm also working on some other videos. If you haven't checked out my Inferno in detail video, feel free to check it out. I work quite a lot on it, and yeah, unfortunately it didn't perform too well, so feel free to check it out. If you will be interested in watching Twitch streams, I will start streaming on Twitch very soon again, so link will be in the description down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.